Well, good morning and welcome to a beautiful Castle Ashby fisheries. This is Scotland Pond behind me, and don't worry, this isn't your gratuitous kettle shot. I'm just going to switch this off actually. It's boiled nicely. It's actually the first thing that I do to prepare my boilies for the day session. Now, these have actually thawed a little bit, but usually when I come fishing, the boilies come straight out of the freezer. They've got frost on them, and actually they can take a few hours to thaw, and even the journey to the lake doesn't thaw them. So the first thing I want to do is boil the kettle up, put my boilies in a bucket and cover them with freshly boiled water. This is actually a trick that my good friend Ben Hamilton showed me a few years ago, something that he did on sort of short overnight sessions. When you haven't got much time, you haven't got time to necessarily thaw the boilies out beforehand and you're not there long enough, you really want the boilies working the swim from the word go, and the way to do that is to get them activated and get them pumping out those signals. And they're not going to do that if you put them in frozen. They're certainly not going to do that frosty. So put the boiling water in, give them a good swill around, and what that'll do is take the frost off them, start to permeate in, start to thaw them out. Now, if you just keep an eye on how cold it's getting, they'll quickly cool the water, quickly take all that heat out. But what it's doing is getting the boilies thawed. So when that water goes cool, simply tip that away, boil the kettle again, put another load in, and then they're pretty much ready to rock then. As soon as you need to use them, just drain off the water, pull them in. Hot is good. If you can put them in hot, that's even better, because they'll really be pumping those signals out and it'll hopefully get you a quick bite. I'm certainly hoping that today. I'm actually going to use them in the form of small bags today, but maybe dot the odd freebie around as well. But as long as I can get those fish searching around in this silty, quite coloured water, I'm confident of a bite or two. But now the kettle's boiled, I'm actually going to make us a cup of tea. Well, that didn't take long at all. Those warm boilies have scored straight away. Young lad fishing next to me, Ollie, put me onto a good area where he'd seen fish showing. He's actually caught one himself this morning already. This chap fell to a small snowman with a little tiny bag of crush baits, fished out into that silt. It's only shallow, so we could see fish moving around. And I suppose within the hour this one tore off. It must be, I'd reckon, 12-13 pound, but well happy with that as a start for the day. Well, I am on the move this time. Definitely seems to have disappeared from the swim. Not getting those signs anymore, and as you can see, the sun's kind of moved off up the lake. It's noticeably colder the last 10 minutes, and yet it's still sort of middle of the day. So let's get on the move, get these in, and show you what rigs I'm using when I get over there. I've got the rods out now, nice and quiet hopefully, and actually whilst doing so, a fish did move in quite close, and I think that's part of the fascination of these kind of lakes, these estate lakes, is that you can always see them. That you're never in doubt as to whether the fish are there, as much as they creep around very, very sort of subtly, and they obviously know that they shouldn't be making too much of a disturbance, and they stay, you know, the shows can be quite subtle at times. Equally, you always got a feeling that they're going to be there, and actually then it becomes a tactical battle. Then it becomes it's about nicking a bite, it's about choosing the right rigs, the right presentations. And I don't know, something about estate lakes as well that really does draw me. I've not fished loads in my time. In fact, this is my first trip to Castle Ashby itself, and to be honest, couldn't pick a more stunning venue to come and spend a winter's day on. And actually, you never feel like you're far from a bite because of the shallowness of the lake and because the fish move around a lot. If you are able to stay on your toes as well, there's always a chance of a bite. So I'll give those half an hour. If nothing happens, we'll be on the move again. Okay, now I'm in my second swim of the day. I don't know if you can see behind me, we've got some very, very shallow water. I'm practically getting no drop at all, which is actually influencing the rigs that I'm using. They are pretty much the same as I was using down there, and it takes into account the silt in this lake. It's quite a deep layer of decaying leaves, that kind of thing. You want to make sure that you're presented. Not that they won't dig in amongst the leaves, they will, but I just like for that little bit of peace of mind to make sure that my hook bait is accessible to them. So let's have a look from the top end here. We've got my favourite dark matter tubing, which I've switched over to almost entirely for most of my fishing now, away from lead core. It's so heavy. That's going to sit nicely in the decaying leaves and silt that are on the bottom. Down to a tail rubber and onto the ever reliable hybrid lead clip. Now onto that I've put a small swivel pear lead. I don't know if you can see, you've probably got 2.5 inches, maybe 3 inches of sort of length there that can sit in the silt, and you'll still get decent presentation. And I'm feathering the cast, and these little tiny leads are just plopping in. They're not going to penetrate the silt too far, so I'm not overly worried about that. But in case they do, I've got attached to the ring swivel on the end of the hybrid lead clip, I'd say probably getting on for 12-14 inches of N-Trap soft. This is the weedy green. It's in 15 pound because I'm using quite a small hook. It's a size 8 wide gape on the end there. I think the 20 pound, maybe the 30 pound would just be too much for such a small hook, because as you can see, I don't actually strip the coating at all towards the end there, and I need that gape to stay open, and I think a thicker hook link wouldn't allow that to happen. So that's the N-Trap 15 pound. I've pinned it down with a couple of blobs of putty on the link. That's just to stop it looping up really and make sure that it's all flush with the bottom. You'll see that on the shank of the hook I've got a little ring, which nothing new there, it's a blowback presentation, but I've actually left it coated right the way up to the ring so that it can reset if it's blown back. It won't just sit down by the knotless knot and render the rig not useless but not presenting the way that I'd want it. And then finally I've got myself a little tiny snowman presentation on the end. It's just a whittled down monster red, tipped off with a little white scent from heaven pop-up, and that's that. I've got one out. Let's get this one out and see if we can nick one. Right, well, I've reeled my left hand rod in because for the third time now I've noticed a fish very, very close in under the brambles to the left. It's sort of preempting that they might come back in. I did dot a few bits of crumb around there about 10 minutes ago. It looks like they've come in and sort of started to have a little truffle around, so I don't need telling twice. So I'm going to put a bait down there. What I'm actually doing is tying up a very, very light bag of crumb, extremely sort of airy, so that if there is, as anticipated, a lot of leaves and stuff under there, then the bait should settle out quite nice and happily on top of whatever's there because of the air that's in these bags. And I'll just show you how to make one. very quickly, so I just snip this one off. Right, that one can go out. So all I'm doing is getting 2 boilies. Usually you do this in a crusher, but you know I'm only using 2, so just break it in your fingers and just between your palms powder it up like that, and then that goes in. Do that once more with another boilie, thread it down into this little bag, but don't compact it because you want to keep the air, hook it on, and that'll just flutter down nicely, making sure I'm presented well. As you can see, we've moved again. As is often the case on these days, we're back where we started out actually. The kettle's on, we're looking for a last minute bite, and as you can, I don't know if you can see over the back here, the sun's just catching the far margin here. It's almost like the dam wall, the outflow is just down to the right. And I'm a big believer in following the sun on these kind of winter's days. I think the carp know where the warmest water is, and it's often where the sun hits last. So, same tactics as before. One's 3/4 of the way over. The other one I've tucked a bit tighter into the far bank because of that sun. It's where it's catching that last light. So sprinkled a few baits over there. Hopefully there'll be a few fish truffling around. If not, I've had a good day. It's been a spectacular winter's day. But really fingers crossed that we do get another one before the end. I'll let you know. Well, last knockings has arrived, and as so often happens, rod's on the deck and it's away. Oh, they fight well in this shallow water, you know, but I think we're going to get the best of him soon. He's about 10 yards out on the surface. This one again fell to the same tactics, snowman, small bag. It was actually out for a while, but like I say, as so often happens, as soon as that light starts to go, you know, they switch on. This one certainly has, so let's see if we can get him in the net. Well, what a way to wrap up on Castle Ashby Scotland Pond. Started out in stunning fashion with a great sunrise, misty fields, and it's finished up clear and cold. And this cracking 14-pound or so mirror made off from a bait just on last light. Going to slip him back and get on the road. What a great day.